Hey everyone, and welcome to a new Video Attic new release roundup. As always, we have some really great titles to talk about and discuss. Some mainstream, some a little more obscure. But of course, I'm not doing this alone, and I have some really awesome help. And I will let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Dillon Gonzales. I am a senior critic for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Homedance Film Festival podcast. And I am excited to really get into the weeds this week. Let's really dig into some fun titles.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was thinking about it, and I only have two titles that are like US based in origin. Everything else is foreign films, which I am always really down for, and I know you are too. With that being said, if you don't mind, I might just kick it off.
Go for it. Let's do it.
We have one that I'm actually really excited about. I've never heard of, mind you, but I do like this director, Robert Sotomac. He did The Spiral Staircase and The Killers, the former of which is available from Kino as well. But this is The Devil Strikes at Night.
Nice.
And I don't know why I keep wanting to say strikes at midnight, and I know that's not right. There's a better view of the back. You see there's a commentary. So this one was a really interesting one. So it is a German film that centers sort of around a serial killer, and this like Nazi is wrongfully convicted. So the movie's kind of unusual because there's no real like non-Nazi sort of like POV at the center of the story. So, I felt a hard time sort of connecting with the characters because literally they're all like Nazis.
So you're saying you don't relate to Nazis? Got it.
Okay, gotcha. Shocker. So yeah, I mean, so being a Robert Sotomac movie, it is very stylish. Plot wise, it is interesting. I just found a disconnect. But like I like The Spiral Staircase and The Killers are like vastly superior films. Like this almost sort of reminded me of like M from by Fritz Lang, only like not as good. But I will say for like completist, it's kind of great to have this in a really nice edition. I don't see that it has a 2K scan even, but like it looks great. There's a little bit of instances of like artifacts and like scratches, but really not noticeable. Like it's an overall really nice like visual and audio presentation. And I know like I read a lot of like really glowing reviews, so it didn't necessarily connect with me, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't connect with like anyone else. So definitely it's definitely worth giving it a try, especially if you are familiar with that particular filmmaker's work.
Yeah, I am really intrigued by that one because I am a fan of his work. I discovered him, I think, last year with a movie also from Kino Classics called A Man in Search of His Murderer, which I thought was a lot of fun. And whenever I saw this title come up on the docket, it made me really intrigued and like I have to seek that out just because I like that other film so much. And I'd be curious to see if I can have a disconnect in the same way you do.
Yeah, it was interesting. I kind of want to say that like there's another Sotomac film coming up in the pipeline next month or two. So yeah, it's always really cool when you can sort of like fill in the gaps with some of these filmmakers, and that's kind of why one of the reasons why I love Kino is like they're really good at sort of like filling in those gaps. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what you think after you see it.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. Kicking off my titles, last week I started off with a Best Picture nominated title from Disney and Fox, and now I'm doing it again. This time I'm going with Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley on 4K Ultra HD. This I had avoided watching it on HBO Max because I wanted my first exposure to this movie to be on 4K. And the movie itself, I actually quite enjoyed for the most part. I think it's really interesting that Guillermo followed up The Shape of Water. He used that clout to make a big budget 2.5 hour film noir, which is really impressive. I could probably say the film could shed maybe like 20 minutes or so. It was a little bit over long for me, like as we reached the end. But overall, I thought it was a really strong movie. It's about this character played by Bradley Cooper, who's basically a con man running from like a dark past, who gets caught up in a circus, like traveling carnival environment, and he learns some tricks of the trade of like mentalism and stuff, and he takes that and tries to make some money with it by conning people in different various ways. That's very basic plot. There's a lot of twists and turns and all of that stuff that are within it, but I did really like it. The first hour or so, it takes place at the carnival, and which is probably my favorite portion of the film. After that, take a turn. It's still very interesting, but I guess I like seeing the large cast of characters prior to that. There's a lot of characters like David Strathairn plays a character, Willem Dafoe's in it, Rooney Mara, she's in it throughout, but this film, it's very dark, and not just like visually, it's just like a very bleak story, but I did like it. I thought it overall, it packs a punch, and it leaves you kind of like feeling bad, but in a good way, like bad for the characters, but it's like, oh, that's narratively satisfying. But the 4K release itself, uh, it looks great. I wouldn't have wanted to watch it any other way. The colors are very, they pop off the screen. The high dynamic range really works well with this. The Blu-ray comes with a 5.1 audio setup, and the 4K comes with a Dolby Atmos. So it's quite a big improvement from the Blu-ray if you are Dolby Atmos configured. I would really recommend that. The special features aren't quite as fleshed out as some recent 20th century titles that I've talked about, but there are about 3 or 4 like brief supplements that are interesting enough. The only drawback to this release, I would say, is that it doesn't come with the black and white version that recently was released in theaters, which I think is a bit of a missed opportunity. But you still get this great movie and really great quality, and hopefully someday we'll find a way to actually own the black and white version, because I really need to see that, because I wasn't going to theaters at the time.
Yeah, I'm really curious if Criterion is maybe planning to do a edition later on with maybe the black and white version, or they might just do like a standalone, which would be pretty cool. Yeah, I liked it. I did stream it because I like couldn't wait. I didn't have your willpower.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. So it's interesting because I'm a huge fan of the original film, and I know that it doesn't stray very far from that source material. Although I know it is based on a book, I believe, of the same title, and so I haven't read the book, so I don't know how faithful it is to the source, but I know that like the original ending or what was kind of maybe supposed to be like the ending of the original Nightmare Alley, was deemed too bleak, so
Yeah.
they opted for something a little more optimistic. And this isn't a spoiler because I'm not getting the specifics of the finale, but in Guillermo del Toro's film, like they actually like stay true to that sort of bleak ending, which I believe is book faithful.
Yeah.
And if anyone's read it, sound off in the comments and let me know what like differences there were. But yeah, I liked it though. I thought it was good. I'm kind of with you where I feel like they could have probably trimmed a little bit. So my next title is one that I had heard of prior to this, but not seen, but I just knew it from like having such a reputation. And that is Come Drink With Me from Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't normally do this, but there's some really cool trivia that I kind of wanted to do really quick, which I
Okay.
thought was really fascinating. So I read online that Jackie Chan claims to be an extra in this as a child. So
Okay.
this was from like 1968, I think, and this fact has been disputed by some of the filmmakers. But Jackie Chan still has it in his official biography, apparently, that he was an extra in this. But this movie is so amazing. Like it really is visually beautiful. It has a strong female lead as the sort of like main protagonist. It's a movie that doesn't pull any punches. There was one scene where a child gets hit in the eye with a poison dart.
Oh wow.
And then later, as the kid is like writhing in pain, they like just like take a sword to him. It's not super graphic, like they don't like it's not like you don't see a lot, but it's almost worse that it's like left
Yeah.
up to your imagination. But yeah, you can definitely see like Tarantino is such a really big fan of this film, and you can certainly see the influences it had on like Kill Bill, but even outside of that, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This movie was so popular that it actually got a sequel called The Golden Swallow, which was the main character in this. And one of the other things that was kind of cool was this actually was on the short list for the Oscar nominations for Best Foreign Language Film. It didn't make it to the nominations, but it just gives you an idea of like the pedigree of this. So in terms of like Shaw Brothers films, this is definitely like one that I feel like fans are probably so excited over. So it's got a really, and I mean, the presentation is really nice. So we got a slipcover here, and comes with a booklet, and like they always do like the postcards sometimes. And it also has reversible artwork.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and as you can see, it has like a ton of special features. Arrow always does a really great job of doing features that put a lot of like context into like what you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is really awesome. So you can see that there's like a ton of stuff going on there. So yeah, I feel like it's surprising that there wasn't a more hype around this release, because again, like it has such a huge like pedigree and cultural significance. But yeah, I'm finally glad that it's been re-released in a really nice edition. It looks beautiful. I will say that there's a few instances of like blurring where like faces and stuff aren't like really in as much like definition as you might want, but I feel like that kind of probably comes down to like what film elements were available.
Mhm.
This is probably the best it's going to look unless we somehow maybe get like an ultra HD version of it, which I know that Arrow's been doing a lot, but not a lot for their like more international releases. So but as it stands now, it looks really good. It's a really nice looking and sounding release. Again, not perfect, but certainly like probably better than any other home video release. So
Awesome. I have something that is probably the polar opposite of that, and that is the new Paramount release of Coming to America, the sequel to the classic Eddie Murphy film, and this is on Blu-ray. So yes, they released the first one on 4K Ultra HD like a little over a year ago. I think it was like December of 2020. And then a little bit afterwards, this one debuted on Amazon Prime Video. And I had not watched it yet. I was waiting for the perfect time. And then it got nominated for Best Makeup at the Oscars this year. And then this release came out, and I was like, now's the time. I'm sad to report I did not love this movie. It's it just feels kind of unnecessary in the end. I appreciate going back to these characters and like Zamunda and everything, but the basic plot of this story is that Eddie Murphy's character he learns that he fathered a child during a time during the first movie. It's like played for laughs, but it's kind of like almost sexual assault-y that he got taken advantage of. But looking past that for comedy, he fathered a child, and he might be the rightful heir to his kingdom. And but this kid, he has to learn how to like what it means to like rule a country, and then like there's some nice commentary regarding like evolving traditions and like the perception of like a male dominated society and like where the women's roles are within that. But other than like kind of like the social progressiveness angle, like not enough of it is actually funny in my opinion. Like there's a lot of kind of humor that just doesn't land. But I I had a decent time with it, but it just if you're a fan of the original, it's just it can't hold a candle to that film, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. If you've seen the movie and you enjoyed it, this is a pretty good release. You get a new audio commentary from director Craig Brewer, who is a director I usually really love. He did like Hustle and Flow and Dolomite Is My Name with Eddie Murphy, which is a really good movie. But I wasn't a big fan of this release. It was okay, or this film. It was okay, but it's not my favorite comedy I've seen recently.
Yeah, I actually didn't really. I don't know. Like I like the first one well enough, but it's definitely not one of my favorites, and I don't have enough curiosity, I guess, to check out the sequel.
I think you're fine. If you don't love the first movie already, then I don't think you're gonna have a lot of affection for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would probably just coast on nostalgia that I don't really have. So my next release is one that I'm kind of surprised that I've never heard of, and it's really, really interesting. This is another Arrow release called To Sleep So As to Dream. And back. This also has a booklet and a postcard as well, and then reversible artwork, which I really like the
Oh, nice.
that
I like
artwork.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so wow, this movie is a trip and a half. So I don't so okay. To break this thing down, it is a modern film, or like modern to like when it was made, um but yet it is a silent film. Like there's no dialogue like said out loud by any of the characters.
Oh, okay.
Like it's interesting because we do hear some dialogue, but it's on a recorder, and then like in usual like silent films you hear like sound effects and noises, and then you have like a score. But the movie is very much a like hard-boiled noir with some very surreal touches. Visually it's stunning. There's like some frames that could be like works of art. Really, like it's incredible. um yeah, it's kind of like one of those titles that seems like it's flying under the radar, but it's really cool. It's a really interesting, I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically like a mystery. It's very like you know, Chandler kind of like there's a guy and his partner, and they're trying to like find this missing woman. But it again takes the sort of familiar tropes, but then really like throws everything on its head. And again, it's weird because like it has a silent film motif, but that also works within the framework of the story, which is this actress is in silent films.
Mm.
So it's not like done just to do it. It's actually has a purpose, but it's pretty interesting. And it's not very long. It's like maybe 80 minutes, and you really go for a wild ride though. And I think you would actually like it too, because it's so unusual, yet it's not like just weird for weird's sake.
Mhm.
Like it feels purposeful in its sort of surrealness.
Nice. Yeah, I that is one that's definitely on my list to check out. I really love like that era, like of cinema, and like just kind of the risks that they would take, and just the way you it's like a silent film that's not silent. I'm intrigued to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like so I'm like by far not a silent film scholar, but like I've seen enough recently where like you sort of like understand the visual language of a silent film, but this doesn't adhere to that like visually, even though or stylistically, even though again like all of the dialogue is like silent film style.
Mhm.
So there's a really interesting sort of push and pull with that, which I found that alone is really interesting. But I think the movie, like the narrative is pretty like engaging. So it's certainly worth checking out. It's one that I'm excited to talk about because as much as we both love the mainstream, it's always kind of fun to help someone discover something that maybe isn't like the most well known, but might
Mhm.
turn out to be like your next favorite movie or something.
Yeah, I've discovered so many interesting movies from Arrow that way. So I'll even even if I wasn't like intrigued by the plot, which I am, I'd just probably give it a chance just because Arrow thought it was worthy of releasing.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Like it's not, I love that like stuff like this is so obscure, but now it's so easy to find. And like the print itself looks really nice too. I mean, again, you still have a few like maybe minor imperfections, but it's really gorgeous looking. and it's nice to have like a really nice looking print of this because it is such a palpable looking, like visually strong film. So yeah, check it out.
Absolutely. All right, my next title, I'm getting into my next two are TV shows. So I've been busy at work watching or catching up on some television, and I've been catching up on what is apparently the most popular show on television right now, and that is Yellowstone, the fourth season. I know it's popular because, well, ratings tell me so, and then my parents tell me that it's worth watching. So um, I have been watching this show since the beginning, and I I was drawn to it because I'm a big fan of Kevin Costner, and then I was just welcome to this world of like kind of familial conflict and like even some political like small town politics, and there's there's a surprising amount of like conflict going on with like ranching and like the ranch life and just all kinds of stuff. They're like there's a higher body count than you would expect. With this fourth season, I don't like since it is a TV like a continuing TV show, I don't want to give away too much. I will just say it picks up where the third season left off, where they left with kind of I'll just say like a Dallas-esque cliffhanger and leave it at that. And you go from there and try to figure out who is exactly trying to take down the Dutton family and who is like there's people coming at them from basically all sides trying to take away their empire, basically their ranch. And but also within this, you learn a lot more details about the family. There's like an episode dedicated to fleshing out their history from like over 100 years ago. With there's a spin-off show. I had to get the year right. Sorry, 1883. I was going to say 1886. 1883 is a new spin-off show from Yellowstone, and this is kind of like a backdoor into that show, and it stars Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. So you get a little bit more about like the Duttons' history on the land, and there's some new characters this season. One played by Piper Perabo, so I was excited to see her show up because I've always been a big fan of her. There's a lot of everyone who watches this show knows there's a lot of stuff going on in this show, and there's constantly it's not always the most believable stuff, but it's always highly dramatic, and it keeps you like clicking to the next episode and being like, okay, keep going. I need to know what happens with this family. And some of the characters are frustrating. If you're a fan of Yellowstone, it is definitely worth getting this new release. It is one of the more addicting shows on television, and Paramount did a really good job with this, stuffing it full of features that you'll want to pour through for hours and hours. That sounds like a sales pitch, but it's true. It's a really great show.
Yeah, cool. I have definitely should check it out sometime. I know I've heard a lot of really good things. So I have some more Shaw Brothers goodness, and this comes from the '88 films, and that is Monkey Kung Fu and Shaolin Mantis, and both are really interesting. So I'm gonna like I sort of like group these together, but I'll show them off individually here. I've covered a lot of these 88 film releases, and they're always really awesome. Um, it has a slipcover, and as always, it has a poster and a booklet and some really nice reversible artwork. So yeah, as for the movies, so they're very different. Like one, like tonally is like the monkey kung fu is definitely more slapstick. It almost felt like a Three Stooges kind of movie. And yeah, I part of me likes that. There is some like really sort of cringy sexist stuff going on in the film that actually kind of like took me back a little bit. Like the main character likes to refer to women as the B word a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, it's almost like a cartoon. Now, on the flip side, this is takes itself a little more seriously, and so same deal as before. We got a poster, and it also so this actually comes with some like cards. I think these are the lobby reproduction cards.
Oh, cool.
I was trying to take that off, but as you can see, there's like a bunch of these like cards. That's kind of cool. That's actually pretty neat because I know that like some of these didn't really have that. Um, so yeah. I feel like I kind of like this movie a little bit more. Again, it's a little more grounded. It does get a little silly, but it's sort of kind of takes itself a little more seriously. And I think the action's a little bit better in this one. But both, like this, for example, like the action sequences are almost just one after another, after another, after another. I mean, it's like kind of exhausting, actually. Just how like uh, just one after the other, like the fight and the fight choreography and stuff is. But both really solid films. Like the plots aren't always like the most brilliant, but honestly, I kind of like love these movies more for like how like beautiful like the fighting style is and the action. And again, some of the humor is a little cringe, but it's overall really good. They're definitely a good time if you are really into like the Shaw Brothers films. It's how great that Arrow is like Arrow, has been like putting out the Shaw stuff like Come Drink With Me, but then 88 Film has been like filling in the gaps with some of the other more like obscure stuff. I know they have like two more titles on the horizon. One I'm actually really excited about, Human Lanterns. I think it's a little more horror like based. So yeah, but definitely both are well worth checking out, and they look great. It's the same kind of deal with the Come Drink With Me, where like the elements seem to be like better in some places, where you can see it's still a little rough visually looking. Like some of the faces are a little bit blurry. They don't have like the definition that you would want, but honestly, it's probably far and away the best it's probably going to look on home video, like barring any sort of like 4K. And the benchmark for 4K stuff's pretty high. I mean, it's high for Blu-ray, so
Yeah.
like yeah. So this is my point is it's probably the best we're going to get, and it looks really good though. There's a lot of in both films. There's a lot of like nature and outdoor scenes that really look lush and beautiful. So yeah, um, it's such a cool time to be interested in like the Shaw Brothers films, and I know you'll be talking about some more. So I thought that's kind of a cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was about to say, like, I'm not going to go too deep into Shaw Brothers right now because people are going to get an earful later. So I find it's a very interesting through line throughout this episode. That's just all Shaw Brothers.
Yeah, listen, I'm down for it. Like it's been such a crash course between the 88 films and like I said, the Arrow stuff. So yeah.
Picking up off my last release of like a family crime drama, kind of Yellowstone, to like a legit family crime drama. This is a show I know you talked about the first two seasons on a previous iteration of the Video Attic before it was what it is now. But I'm going to talk about the third season of Gomorrah from Kino Lorber. Um, this show has gotten pretty popular over the past like year or so because it got added to HBO Max and a lot of people discovered like exactly how great it is. And I got more so exposed to this through the beautiful Blu-ray releases. So I'm very excited to be catching up and like learning why this is considered one of the better shows of the last decade. Since once again, I don't want to get too much into the details of the plot. I will just say that this season picks up with a power vacuum that needs to be that there is the main character trying to grab the power vacuum and grab the power that he feels that he is owed because of his legacy compared to all of the people who are just coming in and like the walls are closing in for all of this crime riddled community in Sicily. And there's so much like backstabbing and double crossing and stuff, people getting killed and people beating down other people. It's very intricately woven. I think it's really well done. If you like really complex crime dramas with like a lot of different factions, this is like one of the best I've seen. The third season goes into some really interesting places. From what I've heard, it might be kind of like the peak before kind of the downturn, but I'll make up my mind myself once I get to the fourth season here soon. But this is a really strong season, and Kino Lorber did a really good job with it. They offer both the English and original Italian audio along with subtitles. There's 4 discs in here with all 10 episodes. There's pretty much nothing in the way of special features besides some trailers, but the show itself is good enough to like want to own it, and it looks a lot better. I have double checked it against like the streaming versions, and the lack of compression from the streaming is much appreciated on this Blu-ray disc. So if you're a fan of the series, they just keep churning them out in really good quality, and yeah, it's a great addition to your collection.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely a show that I'm really enjoying. I know that I haven't got the fourth season in yet, but I'm really excited to dig into that. So my next title is Rick and Morty, the complete seasons 1 through 5 from Paramount and Adult Swim.
Warner Brothers.
Or yeah. And there's the back, and this actually has a poster, which the last season, like the last compilation, the seasons 1 through 4, also had a poster. And I guess I will unfold this.
I really like that poster. I got my copy in, and it's intense, but I like it.
Okay. So this is stuck a little bit. Okay. I was going to try to do it without ripping it. So that is the poster. That's really cool. Actually,
Yeah.
that's like super fitting with this episode.
Yeah.
Um, like that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this doesn't have anything like new. If this definitely is for somebody that hasn't collected the seasons already, like this just ports over everything from like the previous seasons. Included is like the new season, of course. So we have this style, which is pretty much the norm, but these are housed a little nicer. Like you can see, like stuff's not flying out. It's pretty stable. Again, I go back and forth if I like this style, but I kind of like this more than like I don't really care for like the discs that are like housed in like the sleeves when you have to put it like in like
Yeah. The cardboard sleeves.
yeah, yes, I was
Yeah.
like yeah, yeah, that words are hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's really nice. It does come with a digital code that wasn't in here, that will be included with your copy, but is not in here right now. And then this breaks down all the episodes from all the seasons, as well as the features, which is really nice. So it's pretty awesome. I just wrapped up watching season 5 like over again, because like it's a pretty good season. Like I reviewed the steelbook of this earlier, and in fact,
Mhm.
which is gorgeous looking. But yeah, and it was kind of fun just rewatching some of the highlights from the other seasons. So again, if you already own these individually, you're not really getting anything except for the poster. But for like diehard fans, that might be enough to double dip, which we all are obsessive collectors, so we get that. But yeah, if you're, you know, maybe have all these already, it's probably not worth getting over again. But certainly it's really nice if you feel like you're out of the loop and don't own these, or maybe you only own like a season or two. It's nice to just get it all in one swoop. So yeah, pretty
Yeah.
awesome though. I like that poster. I like how, so this is the first time I actually looked at it.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's very, again, very much the theme of this episode.
Yeah. What I really like about the release is because, as people can possibly see, my shelves are full, and I like that release. It just takes up the space of like one Blu-ray, and
Mhm.
it's so compact. I thank Warner Brothers for that. At least it gives me the option to just like have it all in one tight packaging.
Yeah, and it looks great. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can stream it, but as you were saying, like the streaming, you can't really get these sort of like same brilliance and clarity as you can like actually owning it. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's definitely the case with the really great animation, and it really like pops. It's such a visually colorful show that you definitely want to own it in like a physical form, I think.
Absolutely. Moving on, staying in the world of comedy, but going back a little ways. This isn't a new release, but is a release that I think deserves the spotlight. And that is the Ealing Studios comedy collection
Mm.
from Film Movement Classics. Here, I'll just show these off a little bit here. Okay. So yeah, this includes 4 movies. I will show you each individually. The first package is Whiskey Galore and Maggie. Whiskey Galore is basically about a town where their favorite libation is no longer available to them, and kind of what happens to the town when they are deprived of alcohol. And Maggie is about it's a delightful comedy about a ship captain, and he's kind of like an eccentric figure, as you often get in Ealing comedies. What I really like is these 2 are by Alexander McKittrick, who did The Lavender Hill Gang and A Fish Called Wanda, which that's a really great pedigree. I will show you. This is actually a 2-disc release, or 2 releases here, so they're not crammed onto 1 disc. And there's a pretty substantial booklet here with like a nice essay, which is really nice. There's a audio commentary on Whiskey Galore. There's a couple of documentaries here. And all 4 of these have been digitally restored. The third film, I guess technically, is the Tit-Built Thunderbolt, which is about a train that is about to go under, but the citizens of the town gather together to take over control. But then they realize they are competing with the town buses, and there's like some political conflicts within that. And I mean, nothing too serious, but it's pretty amusing. This is from Charles Crichton, who did never mind. This is the guy who did The Lavender Hill Gang and Fish Called Wanda. The previous guy is the guy who did the original Lady Killers. My apologies. So a lot going on in this brain. So yeah, this one, it's delightful. Once again, a nice, well-appointed booklet that's pretty substantial, with some nice essays and photos, like promotional material. So I really think they did a really good job with that. They have some good featurettes. And then the final film in this 4-film set is Passport to Pimlico, which is about there's an undetonated bomb from the war that suddenly explodes, and then finally it reveals a cellar in which there is information that says that this town that's supposedly it's England is actually a property of Burgundy, France, and how that affects their lives, because England is no longer wanting to like give them like necessary services because they are technically France, and just kind of the misunderstandings that go on within that. So once again, 1 disc, nice booklet, and this has a interview with the BFI curator about this film, and a location tour, and all kinds of good stuff. All like these 3 releases and 4 films have all been released separately if you just want any single one of them, but I do like kind of these all together in one nice little, I mean, like a big slipcover, but it's a slipcover, nice box. And Film Movement Classics always do a nice job with their restorations. This is in conjunction with Studio Canal. So they always put a lot of great work into their releases. I checked out a similar set, the Alistair Sim set from 2000, which has a lot of great classic British comedies. So if you checked out that set or just are a fan of like old school British comedies, I think you'll really appreciate this one. It's probably already on your radar, but if not, it's a really great set that I think any classic comedy fan would be wise to pick up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have that set. It's really good. I'm also glad that you mentioned the other set, the
Alistair
Alistair
Sim.
Sim's
Yeah.
it's like School for Laughter or School for Comedy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some really fun movies. And um yeah, like there's a really interesting documentary on YouTube from the BBC, I think, about Ealing Studios,
Nice.
which is really fascinating. They've done some like really amazing movies, like you mentioned, The Lady Killers. That's often considered the one of the greatest comedies of all time. Lavender Hill Mob is fantastic.
I know you're a fan of that one.
Yeah, it's a weird title, but it's so good. And I've it's one of those that like I'm trying to think how I even heard about it, but it totally was not on my radar for the longest time. But Alec Guinness, if you only know him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, like he was absolutely amazing in comedy, like physical comedy, and like he had a very like dry, sardonic sense of humor a lot of times. So it always is kind of fascinating that he was so iconic only for Star Wars. But yeah, that's really awesome. I definitely enjoy those. My final one is a first time watch for me, although I had certainly heard of it before, which is Paramount Presents Ordinary People. And with all these releases, they have a really cool slipcover. And what's kind of awesome is this release has some new featurettes included. Um, this comes with a digital code. It's not in here right now. And with a lot of these releases, they have like a quote, like on the back in the, which is kind of nice. And
Yeah.
have you seen this yet?
No, I just got that in like late last week, and as I told you off air, that it was my wife Jessica's birthday, so we did not get around to that yet. But I plan on getting to it probably later this week. But I know it's a Best Picture winner, so that automatically ticks a box in my head to get to it soon.
Yeah, it's really it's very fascinating. It's fascinating because it's like a look at early 80s sort of mental health and having a really very frank, in your face almost conversation about how, you know, it's a snapshot about how like mental health was kind of dealt with and talked about, but then also how it was dealt with within like an upper, you know, the upper class. And yeah, it did. It won the best picture. It also won Mary Tyler Moore an Oscar, and she's fantastic in it. She really plays this really cold, staunch sort of mother, but then you kind of understand like why she's like that. And yeah, it's you know, Timothy Hutton's in this. He also won the Oscar, and you know, he definitely gets a really nice meaty role to sort of be able to like get those character moments in. Like he you know, it's not quite like he never quite overacts it, but it's just very nearly there. Like there's a few scenes where he has like some breakdowns with his psychiatrist played by Judd Hirsch, who is amazing. He's really great in it. It's a shame that he wasn't nominated, but yeah. So yeah, it's really good. It's not a film I think I would revisit a lot, but I certainly did enjoy watching it. And the transfer looks spectacular. Paramount always does a really good job of like, you know, updating their folded stuff to look really nice and clean, and you know, the colors really pop. It's not like over, but it's not oversaturated, but it's not like muted. It's just like they really found a nice balance. So yeah, it's well worth checking out if you haven't seen it. It's very melancholy, but you know, if you're like in the mood for something like that, it's pretty interesting.
All right. Yes, I'm definitely going to check that out as soon as possible because I think I've seen it maybe like 15 years ago, but I have no memory of it. So I need to refresh myself. Finally, I'm continuing my saga from last week, which I'll probably try to finish next week if my viewing habits will allow it. And that is 4 more films from Shawscope, Volume 1. As promised earlier, I am talking more about the Shaw brothers. I won't get as much into showing off the packaging as last week because you've done an unboxing video and I've showed it off last week. But I will just pick up where I left off. And I will say at first, I'm about to throw a lot of words at people. And some of these films kind of mix together in my head because after seeing so many punches and like fights, some of it gets a little cloudy. So if I get anything wrong, my sincerest apologies. I think I've got most of it clear in my head though. My first title is Shaolin Temple, which is about a Shaolin Temple where there are all these fighters who are wanting. It's like basically all these Shaw Brothers films. Most of them are just like clans fighting against one another, and like one clan wants to like take over like another clan. But it's like this temple where all these fighters are like being trained, but they know that they're kind of like they're on the verge of the end, and like that they know that their adversaries are quickly approaching them. So they're all trying to learn these different fighting styles that will prepare them for this oncoming adversary. There's some interesting training sequences in this that I really liked. I liked the kind of like group aspect, and that there wasn't really like necessarily one standout star. Is like more of an ensemble piece, and some of them are. And it had some really good fighting near the end that I thought that it was really well done. I will, as I had to last week, I need to read some of the special features because these are so packed. There is the Shaolin Temple comes from an HD mastered, but it also comes with a standard definition version of the film, just because it says like the reasoning whenever you go to the special features is just like it might be more accurate to how some people saw it whenever they first saw it. So it's just kind of like a nostalgic, like grungy kind of VHS almost quality of like standard definition quality of this film. It also has a 37-minute featurette from Tony Raines, who always does really nice in-depth pieces on this era of cinema. That's really cool. And so yeah, and it has like new subtitles that are like more accurate. All of these have clear subtitles. So that's a really fun film. The next film, it's the most different that I've seen in this, and that is The Mighty Peking Man, which is basically King Kong mixed with Tarzan just a little bit. The King Kong-esque figure here, he resides on an island, and he has raised this woman from like a child into like this Lady Tarzan figure who like plays with jaguars and swings them around and all this stuff. And then of course there's a group that comes to the island and they see this monstrous figure, and they want to take it off the island, and things happen, of course. This was a fun take on the material. If you are familiar with the story of King Kong, it's not that much different. But I did one of the strangest things about this is that there is this white woman here who is just walking around like in this like tattered cloth, and like most like about 50% of the time like her boobs just falling out randomly, which is like just interesting to just have that happening throughout the movie. And I'm just like, all right. And but she knows no shame because she grew up on this island, so no shame, no shame necessary. It plays out as expected, but it's a fun time if you like kind of that genre of movie. It comes from a new HD mastered, and it also includes an unrestored version. There's a new commentary. There's several new interviews, and there's just a lot of like alternate credit titles because this movie was renamed like differently in the U.S. So it's a lot of fun. And I will try to keep these last two relatively brief. It's Challenge of the Masters and Executioners from Shaolin. And okay, Challenge of the Masters, that is about this guy who everyone's kind of like picking on and saying like he's not going to like be a great fighter, but then he ends up training to take down this evil force who is like a menace within the town. So it's a pretty interesting one. I enjoyed it overall. Executioners from Shaolin is interesting because I think it kind of gives a lot of inspiration to like Kill Bill Volume 2, because there's this this antagonist who he can only be killed by like hitting these specific pressure points between like the hours of like 3 and 5 p.m. It's like the weirdest thing, but I found it very amusing. And there's like generations of people trying to take him down. It's like people like generations of this family keep getting killed, and like the next generation keep trying to take up that legacy. And then there's like different fighting styles that the people are needing to adapt to like take this guy down. It's a whole thing. It's a lot of fun. There's both of these have some really fun fights. There's some like nice bloody moments of like people getting hit in the faces with like big stone boulders. It's a whole thing. The Challenge of the Masters had a new 2K scan from the original camera negative. And the Executioners from Shaolin has a new HD master. There's a new 29-minute featurette from Tony Raines on this one too. There's an interview with Gordon Liu, who's a star. There's other new interviews. This is packed with special features, which I'll show you there. So yeah, if you like these Shaw Brothers films, these are just two more. I'm now about halfway through the set, and I'm having a blast with it. I would have probably never seen these films otherwise, so it's good to see them in like such great quality. It's a really great set, and hopefully I'll be able to finish this up next week because I have about 7 more I think to get through, maybe. Yeah, and no, 5 more, and I look forward to talking about them. I have a weekend ahead of me, so it's a fun time. Thank you, Arrow, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, sounds great. Those are definitely some fun movies, and I'm glad that you're doing like a nice in-depth sort of look at them. And with that, I think we are going to wrap it up. And we very much appreciate you all hanging out with us. And if you like this video, definitely consider giving it a like and subscribe. And hanging in with us because we have some more great content on the way.